Hope you're all feeling as bleary-eyed as we all do after LeWeb and the football and everything. It's just mad. So I'm Bobbie Johnson. I'm the European editor of GigaOm, and I'm here with Nick Deloisio, who is the wunderkind CEO of Sumly. Now, I thought the first thing we should do probably is talk about history.
Okay.
So what were you doing during the dot-com boom, Nick?
Well, so I would have been about 4 or 5. So I was living in Perth, just on a beach somewhere.
Having fun in Australia.
Yeah, pretty oblivious to this whole industry, yeah.
And a few years later, here you are sitting on stage talking about your company, Sumly, which has got a ton of attention over the past 6 months, really. Let's start by talking about what it does and what you do to help it work.
So what we're trying to do with Sumly is customize content for a mobile-sized screen. So at the moment, and we're specifically working with news articles and Wikipedia entries. So at the moment, long-form articles are great for kind of iPad browsing or kind of on a desktop screen size. There's large enough screen real estate where you can skim read the content very quickly and get a sense of what's there. And when it comes to a mobile-sized screen, you know, there's a limitation of cellular data connection and also the screen real estate. And so what we're trying to do is come up with a new form of content, these 400-character summaries. And these are algorithmically generated. And so we're trying to come up with a new layer of content, you know, that we can work with publishers for. And the idea is, as a user, I can kind of go into Sumly and consume news in a more summarized way and kind of browse across a wide array of topics, but have this summarized content, so this new layer.
So, okay, so it's effectively an app layer that allows me to read the news or information faster than before. You're Twitterizing the whole web.
Right. I mean, what we're trying to do is make discovery a lot easier, and also you can gauge the relevance of a web page or a news topic very quickly because of these summaries. And so we've kind of trying to really, you know, the last 6 months or so, I've been very much head down, focused on the product. And what we're trying to do is really come up with this beautiful UI that complements this technology, these summaries that are obviously algorithmically generated. So it's nice to have both the design and also these summaries and the tech aspect.
Okay, so from a technology perspective, you know, there's some pretty big problems you're dealing with. You know, you're having to do natural language processing, you know, other kinds of data munging of all descriptions, really, across these sites. You know, that's some pretty hardcore technology. And, you know, I don't want to dwell on your age, but you're 16.
Yeah.
That's some pretty hardcore stuff to be dealing with.
Yeah, I mean,
whatever age you are.
No, I agree. And, I mean, it's great that NLP's kind of getting more acknowledgement in the industry and kind of AI, and that's kind of what we're working with. I mean, there are obviously a lot of constraints when it comes to trying to summarize content. I mean, computers aren't yet sophisticated enough to really understand necessarily the meaning behind the piece. It's really more about trying to identify certain parts of the article that we feel are most relevant to be included in the summary. So the summary is basically this preview layer. It's not necessarily a substitution to reading the full-length content. We're trying to say, here's a bit more than a headline, or here's a nice amount of content where you can kind of browse through these summaries, you know, very efficiently and quickly and get more of a sense than just a headline or a tweet. And so I've been working with a team of people, kind of more tech-oriented, some people who've had a lot of experience in the summarization field. I mean, it's been around for a long time, you know, 40-odd years. And I think now it's the right time to apply this technology kind of to the modern-day mobile app world, and specifically iPhone-sized screens. And so that's what we're really going after.
So you mentioned the team there.
Yeah.
And obviously, as a young founder, it's always important to get a good team around you. It's always important, whatever company you're building at whatever time. But talk about, because you've been making some smart hires and looking very carefully at the people you have around you.
Yeah, I mean, I was very fortunate that when I received the funding in November from, you know, Li Ka-shing's organization, Horizons Ventures, there are a few advisors that were basically put on to kind of help guide me through kind of the industry and stuff. And as a result, I've kind of, through serendipity, bumped into a few really great people. And so over the last few months, this team has begun to mesh. And it's quite interesting because we've kind of, in effect, cherry-picked people kind of from, I was looking for a designer, you know, about 6 months ago, and I looked around here in London, I didn't find kind of the person who I felt could align. Like within a designer, it's important that they've got the same alignment as you when it comes to, like, I can describe something in a really odd way and they'll totally get what I mean, that kind of thing. And so, happened to be this guy in New York, and so I flew over to New York and kind of met with him, and I used some of his previous apps, and it kind of hit off from there. And it's been a few of these cases, so really, over the next few months or so, we do want to bring everyone together, and it could be in New York, it could be San Francisco, it could be in London. I mean, I'm still trying to decide about my school arrangement, and I have to kind of decide by September, basically, if I'm going to go back on a full-time basis or kind of do some outside of school exams. But it's just been really fun to work with some really talented people and see them also get really inspired in your idea and kind of just work together and try and create something great.
So actually, it's a sidetrack, but what's your day look like at the moment? Are you still in school?
I am. So I was basically given off time. I'd gotten a scholarship to my school already, kind of academically, so I was fortunate enough to have covered a lot of the syllabus work prior to this year, and so I was, quite easy. The school was able to basically grant me leave to work on Summly and kind of try and build this company. And now it's coming to the end of when I would have taken my GCSE, so everyone's going off for the summer now, so I'm not missing really much school from now on until September, but I, over the next few months, have to kind of sit down and really just decide from a life perspective how I want, lifestyle. I kind of still enjoy being with my friends in that school environment, and so if there's a compromise where I can be running the company kind of a few days a week and also at school or as long as I can basically be eligible for university still, I think, then I'm more than happy to commit a lot of my time right now.
But why do you need to?
I mean, I really enjoy, beyond just computer science stuff, I enjoy philosophy and politics and history, and prior to all of this stuff happening, which has been pretty crazy, I wanted to kind of do PPE or something along those lines, and so I have a real interest in that, and I feel like it would be great, regardless of what happens kind of in technology and stuff, and kind of what I do with Summly, to still be able to keep that as an option, because I have a real, it's not because it's a need, it's not like I need a university degree, it's more like I actually just have a real genuine interest in philosophy and stuff, and I'd like to kind of one day study in depth. So
you're not going to be taking Peter Thiel's 100,000 that he's invited anyone who wants to quit university to?
I don't know, actually. I haven't been offered that or anything, but at the moment anyway, it's still like 2 years off, so I kind of very much short-term focused on product with Summly, and then also just making sure I can get through the next kind of year of school, and then we'll kind of see longer term what happens, but at the moment it's kind of very much head down.
That's a ton of stuff to be juggling. I mean, I know, I work with GigaOm. I do a little bit of startup stuff on the side, and I have a baby, so that takes up a lot of time. I can tell you, juggling is very difficult, and you don't want to burn out too quickly.
No.
I'm about to go now. But so as you've grown, the company has grown. Can you talk a bit about how the service has grown as well? How's the product changing over time?
So I mean, we launched in December, like a month after the investment, like a demo, basically to get the product out there, and really it was to validate the tech space, and we were fortunate enough to get some good coverage, and really show that we're trying to push kind of the industry of kind of content consumption, try and come up with this new layer. And since then, I've just been listening to an awful lot of product feedback and trying to see what people would want in a fully substantial, consumer-orientated version. And basically just been spending the last 6 months just working on this kind of the Summly, as I call it, literally Summly 1.0. I see what is out there currently is like a Summly beta, validating the space, letting people play with the technology and getting feedback. And now I want to bring the tech to a very much kind of combining the tech with great graphics, kind of a great user experience, really care about, is the user enjoying this product? We've focused a lot now on what we call the summarizability of an article to make sure that we're not sending down summaries that aren't coherent. We want to make sure that we might only select very few summaries, or a lot less. We're not going to summarize every summary coming through a certain feed, or every article coming through a certain feed. We're going to pick the best summaries, and so it's really about curating what a user would think that's a good summary.
So let's talk about your relationship with publishers, because I know publishers very well, and they're terrified of everything, pretty much. And I imagine, if you turn up, you knock on their door, go around and see them, they're doubly terrified of you for all kinds of reasons. So how do they feel about this? You summarizing the web, you summarizing their content, do they see it as a threat?
I mean, I think we offer another outlet to their content. It's another way of discovering. I mean, there's the way I see it at the moment, there's kind of the magazine apps, there's Flipboards and Pulses and Zites, there's Twitter, there's Facebook, there's other social stuff, there's Safari. And what we're trying to do is come in with this kind of this medium level content. And so I think, so far I've gone in and spoken to a wide array of publishers, and everyone's quite interested actually, because we're really trying to innovate and come up with something different. And who knows if these summaries turn into page views. I mean, we're going to have to, we're tracking all the analytics, and we'll really try and see if there's a trend here. But it was interesting because I think I was talking to someone yesterday actually who's like a Summly user, and he was saying, when he reads a summary and he actually clicks through to the full site, his engagement with that site is a lot greater than if he was clicking off from just a link or a URL. Because he knows already kind of what's in that article, he's only going to click that article if he's extraordinarily interested in that content, and he kind of knows how to navigate the page. And so he was saying, these summaries are actually increasing my engagement with the publisher's content. And that's obviously really good for a publisher, because they care about click-throughs and also engagement. And so I think we could offer something where the summary isn't the substitution to reading that full-length article. It's actually a way of discovering more content. And obviously, as a publisher, that's what you want. You want people coming to your site.
You say that. I mean, Google News has been through its
No, I know.
Downs,
That's,
so,
I
hope among your advisory team, I hope you have some good lawyers to...
Yeah, no, we do. I mean, I think everyone's just really excited just to see where it goes. At the moment, it's kind of early days. We're trying to try something out and really just innovate for mobile and just see what happens and kind of play it by ear. But all the publishers that I've spoken to so far have been very kind of supportive to trying out experiments and working with us to see kind of tracking all the data. And so I've, again, been very fortunate there.
So I want to talk a bit as well about the last 6 months. You've been on this sort of strapped to a rocket since there was coverage back when you got the investment in November. Since then, really, you've got a USP, which is your age, and you've ridden that wave pretty well. How much of that is planned? How much of that have you just had to cope with? And in fact, that's oftentimes that's a big distraction for someone trying to get on with their job. I
mean, it was at first. I mean, I think it was in January that it got a bit overwhelming. It was kind of like there was a lot of stuff coming through, and I actually kind of there's a press assembly. I kind of get in trouble sometimes because I'm kind of going through press at something. I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. I was actually oversubscribing myself to all of these kinds of interviews, and it's like a drug. It like really does. You get so excited by it, and then it was kind of I woke up a bit, kind of late January, and went. There's still an awful long way to go here. I'm very fortunate to have gotten the opportunity and got some of that PR, but it's kind of like now I really want to go out and prove that there's some substance to this product and really create something fun. Because I enjoy so much more kind of sitting in an office working with some people on the product than kind of doing an interview or something. That's kind of where I get my passion from. And so the last few months, really, I've just been very much doing things every now and then, but the majority of my time spent has actually just been with the small team that I'm working with, trying to kind of create something really cool.
Yeah, I just wondered if we had any questions from the audience. I can't really see anything, but if you're there, put your hands up and make a squeaking noise or something, and I'll try and loop you in. One thing I wondered is the last 6 months, you've travelled around a lot. You've met a lot of very interesting people off the back of the project, and I'm sure everyone has had advice for you.
Yeah.
What are the things that you've taken away with you that matter the most?
There's a few. I mean, a lot of people kind of say, when they give some advice, it's just advice. Kind of do what you want, and that's kind of quite important because there are a lot of. I've been really fortunate to have a lot of people offering a lot of advice, and at the same time, a lot of it can get conflicting because everyone's going to come from a different angle, and so it's really to kind of take it more as with a pinch of salt than kind of literally I'm going to change every day because someone's saying something different. And I mean, the other thing is loyalty, kind of really being very true to people, and you promise something, you deliver, and it's kind of building relationships. Because I think to begin with, there's when I was going to start this company, I didn't really realize that I'd have to be working with people, and it's quite you have to build the relationships, you have to loyalty, trust, and really get on with the people as well. Because if you have that, then things just flow so organically, and it's great, and it's really great fun. And so that's kind of been really fun, kind of learning through that. But I've had, I'm fortunate for a lot of great advice, and it really is. It's just advice at the end of the day. Kind of do what you want.
Yeah. And what's been the weirdest situation you found yourself in?
One time I went visit Yoko Ono at the Dakota building, which is crazy, and kind of went upstairs, and she was in her pajamas, and it was all a bit funny. That was kind of like just the whole thing was just so surreal. So that was kind of. And
Yoko Ono is like old news to me, let alone you. That's like ancient history.
Yeah, she's doing some cool art stuff. So
yeah, well, the situation is very good. Are there any questions in the audience? The clock's ticking down, and Loic's going to come and batter me with a stick. But if there's anything out there, put your hands up now. So just to sum up then, since we now got 25 seconds, so let's do it fast. But what are we going to expect from you? Are you out raising money again because you've got the attention, get the money while you can?
I mean, what we can really expect is a new product. There's going to be something coming out very soon, and really, it's completely different. Yeah, we've really stepped it up, and that's all I've been focusing on at the moment in terms of fundraising. That's like another thing, but yeah, just really a really awesome product coming out very soon. That's kind of the thing we're going after, and just making a great user experience with these summaries, new form of content.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Nick, and thank you for having us. Good luck.
Thank you. Cheers.